What's up, guys? UFC 280 is upon us. The press conference. This is the review for the press conference. Islam Makhachev, Beneil Dariush, Aljamain. There's lots to talk about. Charles Oliveira's A-grade translator. Somebody give this guy a pay rise. Someone talked in the comments about this motherfucker. He wasn't just translating Oliveira. He was putting the sass on it and even translating his emotions, you know. Oliveira not being able to speak English does hinder his ability to show, like, I think he has a big personality. We just feel like we can't really connect with him just because his inability to speak English. But it's just like Paulo Costa. Everyone thought he was like an oaf. Everyone thought he was just dumb before. But after he lost to Adesanya, he slowly started becoming everyone's favorite UFC personality just because his English started getting better. So even Islam commented on Oliveira's inability to speak. Because even Islam had to learn how to market himself. But unlucky for him, he didn't have this premium translator in his corner. You know, the UFC's had some comedically terrible translators in the past, but this guy ain't one of them. What else? Let's talk about Aljamain and TJ. Holy shit. I mean, Aljamain, even though he kind of redeemed himself, he's a bit, you know, I feel like he just tries a bit too hard. But oh my god, anyone that ever comes out of Team Alpha Male, ever has any ties to Team Alpha Male, has the worst shit talk I've ever heard.
You were curled up like a bitch. You were curled up like a bitch. I budgeted your body. You couldn't even lift your hands up. You couldn't even lift your hands up. You can do that all you want. Deck like a bitch.
Fucking idiot.
I wanted to speak to you. I did want to speak to you because you out the mic
over your left eye, buddy. You're gonna fucking have that. For
Next question.
Every time you look in the mirror, you're gonna think of me.
Guy looks like a orange cotton candy.
You look like a 50-year-old retired skateboarder.
Do something about it. You little bitch.
I already have, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, the guy's on everything.
Yeah.
He's on everything.
TJ?
Yeah, I'm on everything. They test me every day, so I'm on everything.
Funny, you're the one that showed everyone how to do it on Team Alpha Male. How many times did I fuck you up in practice?
0, motherfucker.
Exactly. I'd rather chase pussy in my life on December 30th. I ain't doing it. I don't have to.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Every time they open their mouths, it's hilarious. They all respond before they think about what to say. It's like, you know, Adesanya's cringy one-liners, but Adesanya will just keep going on. He'll say some shit he thinks sounds cool, and when he realizes no one understands what the fuck he's talking about, he'll just keep rambling until he stumbles on like an anime or meme reference to save himself, you know. So people will just be like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but I know the last reference. And just because he says it with such confidence, they're like, yeah. If you don't know, now you know. That's what the cool people say from America. Even though he's not from America, he's from New Zealand, but he acts American. Which is so funny when that Aussie guy called him out at the Whittaker press conference when Adesanya was giving Rob shit about not being able to represent New Zealand and Australia. And he was stumped when the guy said, well, you're from Nigeria. What are you talking about? You can represent 2 countries. And he got all upset and he went for the cheap shock humor by like calling him a cunt. It's like Amy Schumer. It's like, or some other rubbish female comedian that tries to save their act by talking about their vagina. Some low-hanging fruit, like some low-hanging shock humor. And if you don't laugh, then you're a misogynist, you're a woman hater. You can't handle that kind of talk out of a woman, a modern-day woman or something like that. It's the same way people use the word hater. It's like a scapegoat, you know. You hit, oh, John Jones, you hit that pregnant lady and you drove off and to hide your drugs. Like, oh, man, you're just a hater. You're just a hater, man. No, mate, she's like gonna die. Man, you're just a hater. Anyway. Yeah, Team Alpha Male, not the best record when it comes to talking. And it doesn't help that their brand is like tough guy, you know, like just the name Team Alpha Male is hilarious. Like anybody that uses the terms like alpha and beta, they're all beta. Anyone that uses, unironically uses those terms is just beta. And especially when they're all like 5'1", of course they're going to pick that name, you know, Alpha Male. So, you know, like they all have to act the part. Like TJ gets pressed with the steroid comments by Aljamain, and he's like fighting between like the tough guy persona and then the guy like that's righteous and like, oh, I've owned up to it and I paid for what I did and like things like that, and then the next second he's like, you're gonna get beaten by a cheater, motherfucker. Like, he's just so incongruent. And it's like John Jones was like, oh, he gets like pulled over for DUI. He's, oh, what were you doing here? Oh, I was just, trying to feed the homeless and trying to like, treat them as human beings. And then the next second he's like beating up his missus and stuff like that. And him trying so hard, like TJ trying so hard to roll with the punches with his clean juice business. It's like, I see what you're trying to do. Like, it's as if you read a book somewhere, TJ, and you're like, oh, how to make friends and persuade people to make them like you and look cool and stuff like that. And like one of the chapters is about using humor to your advantage, to win the public back, lean into the humor. But the juice thing is just like, you're doing it wrong. Like, this is not what the book meant, TJ. Yeah, we're in a weird time right now, post-Conor. Like, say, before social media and the internet, we had people that were kind of like stereotypically traditional tough guys, like in movies. And before UFC, like, people could like bullshit that for a while. There were like and then the UFC came along, and then people filmed these guys when they weren't fighting, and everyone's just like more and more like, these are just like regular people. They just happen to cage fight every once in a while. But like Chael, Chael was so good, and everyone loved Chael because he was playing a character, and he never broke character, Same with Conor. Conor is just himself, just cranked up to an 11. It's a persona. And then everyone else now, especially as the fighters in the UFC are just becoming younger and younger, I feel like they all have Asperger's. Like, O'Malley was the least cringy just because, he wasn't trying too hard. But him doing all the stuff for the like marketing with the hair and all that, I mean, it's, I don't know. But without the persona, it's just like, it seems like an incongruent mess, Like, he's like half in, half not. Like, if you're going to be outlandish of a character, you might have a outlandish personality. But I don't know. Sometimes he tries to do the cool guy. Sometimes, I don't know. It's a mess. We're in an era like where people, it's just like, you can always just say, at the end of the day, you can just be like, oh, it's all marketing, you idiots. Oh, you're so stupid. It's like an excuse for their shitty personality because you're going in and out of character. So it's like, you do something embarrassing as yourself, not as your character. And then when everyone's after that, you're just, oh, pfft, I'm meant to do that, you dummies. Oh, you don't know nothing about marketing. When really it's just like your personality really showing. Marketing, like everyone trying to be Conor, and no one, especially from America, just can't do it. Like TJ had one good call, but for a fact he prepared and he practiced that before the press conference. It's like he's approaching press conferences like an athlete, like training his lines in the mirror and be like, oh, this is going to be good when I say it. And like, unlike Conor, when he just says things like effortlessly on the spot.
Yeah, go ahead, McNugget. You want to answer that or no? Ladies first.
Like, that's the difference between the dry Irish wit or like the Aussie or even British wit, where like Bisping, like the Americans attempt to shit talk, it's always like responding logically or something unimaginative, some like, oh, you're a bitch, or I'm gonna beat your ass. It's like Conor is just every other Irish guy that talks shit in a pub, but to the media he was just like otherworldly, like Shakespeare. Kind of like the polar opposite is Gordon Ryan. Like I don't believe he is the guy he's portraying on social media. But just because he's so horrible at it, like just so horrible at shit talking. Like when there were trolls talking about his legs being skinny, he immediately had to defend himself by saying like, "You idiots! I keep them skinny on purpose. You're so fucking stupid." Like, oh, Gordon, why are you even addressing it? Here in Australia, that means that you lost. Like the trolls won. They manipulated you. They won at getting under your skin. Like you have to justify yourself. Like you're an amazing grappler. You're good looking. You're rich. You're young. But you're still so insecure that you have to justify yourself with these like little reasonings. and all they have to say is just like, whatever, chicken legs, and then you just shut down. It's like, it doesn't matter how many times you say after, oh, I'm just doing it because I'm having fun and I think it's funny, you know? It's like the dude desperately trying to tell people how much he doesn't care. I don't care. You think I care? Well, I don't. Make sure you tell people that. I'm just marketing myself. You know, the haters don't get to me. It's like, why you have to tell us so much then? Like, oh my God, don't even get me started on him addressing the widow peak comments from the trolls on Joe Rogan. Like, oh my God, like, Gordon, just the fact that you brought it up means that you were thinking about it. Like, these trolls have you wrapped around their finger. Like, but anyway, where was I going? Like, and yeah, Americans, especially younger ones, playing personas. Oh man, these Americans, even Peter Yan, who doesn't speak English, has better shit talk, you know? O'Malley talked about his height, and then rather him addressing the height comment, he just gave it back to O'Malley and just be like, well, you look like a whore. He didn't do what Gordon Ryan's like, oh, I keep my height short on purpose. He didn't address it. Like, well, you just look like a whore. You know? It's amazing, perfect, effortless. Like, although O'Malley, I think, like, O'Malley gets it, I think. He doesn't try too hard. You know, when they ask him if he wanted to respond to that, like, ooh, you want to respond to that comment? He's like, nah, that was good. Like, he recognizes there's no point in looking like an idiot like Gordon Ryan and like keep digging your hole deeper to try to save yourself. Like, he acted like a guy that truly doesn't care. He didn't really he didn't have to say what Gordon or Dylan Dennis has to say, like, oh, I don't care. You think I care? Well, I don't. Make sure you tell people I don't care. Like, he's just like, nah, I'm good. He didn't have to even explain himself. He was so above it, he didn't even have to explain himself. That's the way you do it. Like the typical press conference, training camp, I think, for Americans is like, they come up with a few grade school level puns like Needleshaw or McNugget or something with their opponent's name. Or they steal someone else's line, because it's like proven, like Masvidal's line, like hold these nuts, and change it a little to like test these nuts, and as if no one would realize. And they tell their coaches and their teammates, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's gonna get him," because they're their teammates, right? Like all these yes men, they have to be like, "Yeah, that's a good call," and like these yes men, they don't help him with the ability to shit talk because it's not real, you know. So like when they say it, maybe it hits once out of 100 times those lines, but most of the time it's just like they miss the timing, they miss the delivery's off, or just because they're trying to crowbar it in, and it's just incongruent. It's just God help us when Gen Z get into the UFC. I mean, I do know that that 17-year-old just got into the UFC, but they're socially retarded as it is. But when they're like fed this shit, like grow up on this like awkward persona era post-Conor, it's just gonna be like so out of touch. But apart from all these fighters, when it comes to their skills, they're not retarded. It's going to be very interesting to see the clash of styles, like the long, rangy outside fighter in O'Malley going up against the short, inside fighting pressure style with Yan, the backpacking of Sterling on TJ's wrestling base. Although I do think TJ has the advantage with the striking, footwork, and combos. Aljamain is very dynamic. He's very unorthodox, especially with his spin, so it might throw TJ's switch stepping off. And of course, the clashing of grappling styles with Oliveira and Islam, you know, the traditional jiu-jitsu style versus Islam's unique Dagestani top pressure. You know, on paper, initially, you would say that Islam's game falls right into Charles's game, but if you watch instructionals like Craig Jones's Power Ride, which I'll be reviewing later, you see how Craig was the only jiu-jitsu guy that was like humble enough and open-minded enough to look at what the Dagestanis were doing differently and found a lot of unconventional things, like instead of jumping 2 hooks on the back, you only put 1 hook in with a crab hook, or ways they can like leg pin, like the Dagestani leg irons, and like camp in their guards safely, and like with a pin sort of thing, and sort of negate their jiu-jitsu. I've said this for years, but about, like I've said this for years about jiu-jitsu, there's just so many inflated egos and not enough open-mindedness, and it's like finally quite validating to be vindicated by someone as high esteem as Craig Jones to make me not think I was delusional, because although I didn't have it as like sophisticated understanding, and also I had some doubts like, oh, maybe I'm crazy, like it does seem like they're doing stuff that's not traditional, except everyone's teaching traditional jiu-jitsu, and it's like I can see how the unconventional approach would work, but everyone's just saying like, oh, you know, don't that. They all say the same things. Oh, that guy that was doing jiu-jitsu and MMA, he's just not good at jiu-jitsu when they're going up against Dagestanis. Rather than thinking like, oh, what are the Dagestanis doing? Maybe that's evolving the styles. It's like, you know, Bruce Lee, you know, take what's useful, reject what's useless. But with grappling styles as well, mixing them, taking what's useful. These things are all instructional, and which is really critical to understanding the clash of styles we have here, which is only compounded by the fence and the mat returns. I think Islam has all the necessary defenses to Charles's major submissions, and also I think he'll have a safe way to camp in Oliveira's guard and do damage and progress to the mount and then take the back and keep him down. But guys, whoever your pick is to be champ at 280, you're going to need a Halloween costume. So when you dress up as them, whoever your pick is, buy one of these UFC belts in the link below, and either get a manscaped razor, shave your mustache off to rock the Dagestani beard, or get your UFC belt with this set of teeth and bleach if your pick is Oliveira. And that'll be in the link below. Peace.